Hello, I'm Rick Stivers, and I'd like to welcome you back to Young Martin's Reels. And today we're going to be working on this OKUMA Classic Pro 302L. And this is the one I picked up last weekend at a yard sale. And it's pretty dirty, but it seems to work reasonably well. It's a little bit on the slow side, a little bit sticky. I took the line off of it. It had a lot of line on it. And I took that off. But it doesn't, it's just a little on the sticky side. But the drag works. Everything on it seems to work okay. It's just slow. So we're going to take it apart, clean it up, see if we can't get it back into service again. First thing we're going to start off with is taking this handle off. Take that nut off, and off comes the handle. Okay, there's our tensioner for our drag star knob. Okay, I think we might need to do a little cleanup on this prior to taking it off. I think that it's getting gummed up in the threads right here. So I'm gonna take and clean that up. Now let's try to take it off. That's working so much better. We're going to clean those threads good before we put that back on. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and do it right now. Now let's see if that knob goes back on better. Oh yeah, much smoother. See if that washer is going to come out, or bearing. Nope, it's going to stay there. Okay, it appears that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws holding the cover on. And we're going to see about taking those out. I'm going to break them loose with this common. And then I'm going to come back with a Phillips to remove them. And so far, it appears that all 4 screws, or all 5 screws, are going to be the same size. All right, that's all the screws removed. Now we're going to remove the slide plate cover. All right, now it appears my spool is stuck in here. And we have what appears to be some old fishing line, but I don't think it is. I think it's just grease. All right, we'll clean that up. And we're going to come back to this guy in a minute. All right. Okay, spool cleaned up quite nicely, both sides. No rust, no corrosion, just a lot of old dried grease. Okay, it appears that our binding that I felt inside is right here in this gear, which is actually the driver for this worm gear. So apparently the worm gear is binding up. So let's go ahead and move this over to where I can easily get to the worm gear, or worm gear pawl. We're going to remove that screw, or cap, or try to. There we go. Somebody had over tightened that a bit. All right, there's no washer inside. And if this is a steel pawl, I should be able to remove it with a rare earth magnet. And I was. So that's pretty dirty. We're going to clean that up. All right, this worm gear, this wants to slide hard. It does not want to, keeps wanting to bind. So what we're going to do, we're going to scrub all this up real good, inside and outside. Okay, now you could take out the screw for the clicker and take out the screw over here and remove this gear to get in there and take this further apart. But I don't really see the need for that in this instance, so we're not going to take that off. But that's all you would have to do is take those out, especially in the event that something was wrong with your clicker. You could take that out. But clicker works just fine. Make sure you can see it. It works just fine, so we're not going to take that out. All right, what we are going to do is we are going to put a couple of drops of oil down inside. There we go. We're going to oil that. We're going to oil that gear. And we're going to put one drop of oil on the clicker. Okay, and now that we know that the worm gear pawl is clean, we can put it back. Slip it inside. That's feeling gritty. Let's clean that hole out a little better. Wasn't that dirty, but it had some in it. All right, let's go ahead and oil the hole, oil the pawl, and try slipping it back in again. Ah, yeah, much better. All right, now what we need to do is we're going to rotate the gear around until there we go, until we get that to slip in. And yes, this is moving much better. We're going to go ahead and oil the worm gear. And then we're going to reinstall the pawl cap. And rotate it around a little more. Tighten it down. Remember, don't tighten that too much. All right. That's moving smoothly. I also like to add a little bit of oil to this bar up here because that is going to slide up and down on that bar. All right, that's got that side done. As a matter of fact, we can go ahead, now that the spool is properly cleaned and set it back down inside there. Like so. Okay, hit the clicker. And it's working fine. Okay. That brings us to this side plate, which I've never had this apart before. So, as Dan, my critic, says, I bet you're guessing at this point. Well, yeah, I'm going to be guessing a little bit at this point. Okay, one thing I can see right off the bat is that we have an anti-reverse pawl spring right here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and relieve that off of there. I don't know how well you can see that. Let's zoom in just a little bit. I hate when I zoom in because when I do, I tend to forget to unzoom, and then a lot of things end up outside the... I don't want to crush the spring. There we go. Okay, it's relieved. All right, let's see if I can use this screwdriver or if I'm going to have to get a micro driver. Okay. Here's one screw. Hopefully all three are the same. We'll find out in a minute if that's true. This is our bridge. Before I take this last screw out, let me explain to you what we have here. We have our bridge assembly. Underneath the bridge assembly is going to be our drag setup, our drag washers. This is a jack plate right here, and it's going to hold this yoke in. The yoke holds the pinion gear right here, and that's what clicks in and out of the spool to engage and disengage the spool. So here we go. We're going to take this out. And I think after we've taken that out, I think what we're going to have to do is take this C-clip off, but I'm not sure about that. So let's find out. Let's take a good educated guess on it. Okay, as suspected, all three of those screws were the same. Now let's see if this comes out. And it does not. Okay, so now we're going to take this E-clip out. All right, we'll set that over with those three screws. Now, will this plate come out? I can see right there, that's probably the anti-reverse dog right there. Okay, that one dropped out of the hole. Okay, all of this dropped out of the hole. You can see it now. It's a bearing and a sleeve and a tension washer. Okay, they dropped out right here. There we go. Okay, it's got the bridge plate up and off of there. Let's see. All right. It's got the plate off. Okay, now as I said, this is for your anti-reverse dog. Here's your anti-reverse dog right here. And it's still got the spring attached to it. There it is. Now, your first natural assumption is to be able to take that gear out, but we're not going to be able to take it out because it's hitting on the jack plate here. And the jack plate moves in and out like that. Better get it back over wherever it belongs. Okay. In and out right there. But what we're going to have to do is take the jack plate off right here. And that's a much smaller screw than the other ones we removed. And it is longer than expected. All right, we'll set it over to the side. Now the jack plate comes off, but be careful when you take the jack plate off because it's holding down on this yoke. And the yoke has two springs, one on each side. There we go. And there's our pinion gear. And I just dropped the yoke. Now this yoke appears to be pretty much symmetrical either way. So that's not going to be a problem. All right, we'll set that over to the side. Now we can take out the main gear with our drag washer stack. And just so we don't lose them, let's go ahead and take out these two springs right here, because when we go to scrub this up, we could knock them loose. All right, and that leaves our eccentric right here with our eccentric spring, and normally you don't have to take that out. Okay, so we're just going to leave that in there. We'll scrub around it. So let's go ahead. We're going to go to fast forward motion and scrub this up real quick. Okay, we've managed to clean all those parts up. Now we're going to move on to the main gear and your drag washers. Okay, we've got a large heavy flat washer. Now we've got, that's a very nice drag washer. Okay, and we've got our eared drag washer. And the drag washer, well, this explains why the drag was working so well on this reel. That's all perfectly clean, as though none of that drag has ever been used or lubricated or had to have anything done with it. Okay. Okay. We've got everything cleaned up and ready to start going back together. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I have been contacted by a distributor for a new product called Hillbilly Snot. I guess it's new. It's new to me. I've never tried it until yesterday, but I tried it on a couple of Zebco 202 reels yesterday, and I had very good success with it. So I'm going to put it on this reel. I'm gonna start using it a little bit and see how well I like it long term. It seems to work really good. I put it in a freezer last night, and after several hours in the freezer, it come out still turning nice and smoothly. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how I like the product. All right, we're going to put in our first drag washer. Then comes our regular rectangular shape keyed, and we're going to go back to the regular drag washer. Then we go back to an eared drag washer with these two little ears, one on each side, that fit down inside the gear. And then you've got to make sure those go down in there, or else they'll get chewed off and your drag system won't operate properly. Then we're going to put on that drag washer. These, I believe, since these are completely dry, I believe these were originally dry and intended by the manufacturer to be installed dry. So we're going to leave them that way. All right, that's got that back together. And we'll set it over to the side. We're going to need to rebuild this guy. Yep, I see a little dirt left in there that I missed. Okay, it's got that cleaned up. And it looks like there's still a little bit down inside this bushing. And to do that, I go ahead and pull some of the cotton off of the cotton swab so they can get down inside the bushing to clean it. There we go. I thought there looked like there was a little dirt left in there. All right. That looks so much better. And if you have to, you can just unscrew the end of it off over here. Pull it out. Okay. And that way you can run your cotton swab all the way through to make sure that you've completely gotten everything. All right. Now there's a little plate down inside there. Let me bring it up here and let you focus on it. See that little metal plate in there? You do not want to lose that. Okay, it moves around and it will fall out. So be careful that you don't drop it. All right, go ahead and screw the cap back on. Okay, we're going to put a few drops of oil down in there. That'll soak in under that metal plate in there and keep all that lubricated. Okay, now it's time to start putting our yoke assembly back together. First comes these two springs that we took out earlier. There's one there and one there. Next comes the yoke itself, along with the pinion gear. And the pinion gear has been scrubbed, cleaned, and you know what? Let's go ahead and run a Q-tip through it, just to make sure. All right. Now, it's been cleaned. There's nothing in it. We'll go ahead and lubricate it. There's nothing wrong with the gear itself. Once we've done that, we'll add a little bit of grease to the yoke. Set the pinion gear back in the yoke. And then place it back inside. These ramps are going to go down, and we'll put a little bit of grease on there. A little bit there, a little bit there. And then we're going to grease the bottom side of this jack plate prior to putting it back on. Okay. Yep. At this point, you're going to want to go ahead and put your gear back in. And let's go ahead and lubricate it first. Then we will sit that assembly back inside. Looks like we're going to have to go the other way. Normally, when I do these, this is all greased up. We didn't grease this, and I'll show you how I'm going to grease it to make this not happen. You just saw what happened, and I'm going to show you what we can do to make that not happen. Make sure, again, that those ears on the eared washer are down inside the gear. There's our last washer. Back on. All right, to keep that from falling off like it just did, what we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the bearing. We're going to make sure the bearing turns easily. Okay, that took me a few minutes to correct. What happened is this bearing was completely frozen up inside. And if it had been rust that had caused it to happen, I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. I could have probably freed it up, but it probably would have been a very noisy bearing. This one, however, was bound up because the grease in it had just solidified. So what I was able to do was take it and soak it in some acetone, and then I took this screw and clamped the screw down on the center of it, so I was able to hold on to the outside and start getting it spinning. And once I was able to do that, then it freed right up and it started working fine. So it has been soaked in acetone to dissolve all the old grease in it. I'm going to oil it so that that doesn't happen again. And that should take care of it. All right, we've done that. We're going to reinsert our tension washer. Follow that up by this sleeve. Now when we go to put the sleeve on, I need something to hold all this together when we put it inside the case. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some grease on there. And that grease is going to hold this sleeve in place. We'll put a little bit more grease and use that to hold the bearing in place. Now the bearing could just be reinserted from the outside. If it doesn't stay on, that's what we'll do, because it's kind of heavy and it may not. All right, now we should be able to set this back into the case like so. All right, with that done, we've got all this held up. Now at this point, you're going to kind of have to hold this up in the air, because if you set it down on the shaft, you're going to be pushing everything back up out of there. So we're going to add a little bit of grease right here where the jack plate rides. And then we can set the jack plate back in place. Like so. And then we take that little teeny tiny screw . Okay, that's got all that held in place. Next is going to come our anti-reverse dog. It fits right in here like so. Let's grab it with something that can get hold of it. Okay, it's going to sit right there like that. And everything did fall back out of that hole. All right. Now we're going to take this post, insert it through the jack plate, like so. And that's going to hold all that together while we reinsert the bridge plate. Okay, everything snaps into place. Our E-clip can go back on. I think it can. If we're down far enough, it can. It doesn't look like we're down far enough yet. Oh, there we go. Push up a little bit on the drag plate. There we go. Now we can reinstall these 3 screws. All right, since these fell out again, let's put them back in. And at this point, let's go ahead put a little oil on the threads and reinstall our drag nut. Notice how much easier it spins on now. All right, now as we activate and deactivate the plate, you should be able to see this move in and out. Okay, the jack plate pushes the yoke down, which separates that gear from the spool. All right, we're going to go ahead now and oil that bushing down inside. And since this edge right here may end up riding against the spool, we're going to go ahead and grease that. All right, all that's good. Okay, everything's adequately greased. And we're ready to reinstall the side case. We will oil the spool, and all of this is going to slide back on now. Like so. And if we have it lined up properly, the screws will go in. Okay, that has all 5 screws started. Let's go ahead and tighten them all down in a crisscross pattern. We're going to add one more drop of oil to that. All right, go ahead and clean up the handle, get it put back on. We're going to put our tension washer on. Like so. Put the handle back on. And the handle lock didn't get cleaned. Let me clean that up. There we go. Back into place. Go. All right, there you have the OKUMA Classic Pro 302L. And I forgot to do something, and that's why we're doing this. Any credit for who knows what I did wrong? Well, let's go fix it real quick. Fortunately, we won't have to completely disassemble it to fix this. All right. Right here, you're going to notice, let me zoom in. Right here, you're going to notice that spring right there is not connected. That is our anti-reverse dog spring. And we're going to take it, hook it on right there, or at least that's the plan. There we go. Now the anti-reverse is working perfectly. We'll zoom back out, throw this back together. Look at there. All right, let's put the 5 screws back in. If you like what you see here today, please hit the like button. If you dislike it, that's okay. Let me know that too. If you wish to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. And I would like to have all the subscribers I can. I'm going to give you guys a little shadowing of things to come. I'm going to be offline for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, starting on Monday. And you won't see any videos from me, I don't believe, during that time frame. I might shoot some videos during that time frame. I doubt it. I don't think I have enough memory space on my camera because I'm not taking my computer. And so I think what's going to happen is you guys just aren't going to see anything from me for about 2 weeks, starting probably Sunday night. I think I'll put my last video out on Sunday night, and then I'll be down for about a week and a half. Maybe sooner. I'll be back. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Now let's see if we have a perfectly functioning OKUMA reel. Take off the clicker. There we go. Spinning up, spool runs just fine. Okay. Activates nicely. All right, there you have it. This is one I don't plan to keep, I don't think. I think this is one I'm going to send out on the eBay world. If I thought I needed another trolling reel, this would be an excellent one for it. But I just have so many that I just like this style of reel, and I don't really use them that much. And I can only use 4 at a time on my boat. And I probably am up to 20 now. So this is probably going to venture out into eBay unless somebody contacts me and says they would like to have it. There you have it, the OKUMA Classic Pro 302L. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.